Bong Joon-ho's Parasite is a virtually perfect film in every regard when it comes to filmmaking. Every aspect of the movie is minutely crafted and flawlessly executed, creating what is largely considered his magnum opus, encapsulating everything he's learned from his years of filmmaking and from decades of films that have come before. Bong has credited many films as part of his inspiration for Parasite, but among them 3 stand out: 1960's The Housemaid, 1960's Psycho, and 1963's High and Low. The Housemaid is the film that resembles Parasite's narrative the closest, having a poor housemaid infiltrate a rich household. However, the other 2 films use particular film and storytelling techniques, which Bong refines and perfects for the modern age. High and Low was one of the first films to utilize vertical camera movements to differentiate the upper and lower class, having characters in power physically tower over those beneath them, creating a physical and visual representation of the class divide. This has been utilized in other films since. However, none have truly expanded upon it as much as Bong has in Parasite. It has the traditional upper and lower sections as represented by the physical height differences, but has many subsections which creates a very specific hierarchy of class that is particular to this film. When looking at the basement under the Park family's house, it may initially appear as if those in the basement are of a lower class. However, Bong twists this narrative within the context of his film. He makes a point to show that the basement is actually a higher class than the Kim's family and others like them. Despite the unconventional lifestyle, they are comfortable and happy within the confines of the basement, remaining well-fed and protected from loan sharks, which is not something that can be said for those below. Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho may seem to be the biggest source of inspiration for Parasite. Bong Joon-ho takes inspiration from how Hitchcock portrays the house, with both films having it act almost like a character, with architecture reflecting that of the narrative and containing secrets hidden throughout the movie which reveal themselves later on. However, the biggest influence on Bong's movie is the infamous shower scene. Alfred Hitchcock kills off his main character at the halfway point in the movie, in what is considered one of the biggest twists in cinema of all time. Bong Joon-ho creates something similar, but he takes it a step further than Hitchcock. Just like how he put his own twist on the hierarchy created by the cinematography, Bong Joon-ho puts a spin on the conventional 3-act structure used in the film. After the Kims successfully infiltrate the Park's house, the film's narrative comes to a complete stop. Bong uses a scene to brilliantly fake out a moment of tension before the sound of a doorbell echoes throughout the house, which becomes dead quiet.
뭐야? 누구야 이 시간에?
뭐냐?
This is the exact midpoint in the screenplay and marks the end of the initial setup and the beginning of the real film. This splits the screenplay into 2 separate movies, with 3 acts each, with the first film being dedicated to the setup and the second film being dedicated to the payoff. This is where Bong's genius really begins to shine through. Every element of the movie has a setup and a payoff, and things don't reveal themselves until later on. Even the seemingly smallest of elements have a larger payoff, which all comes around in this second half. Not only did he create his own hierarchy of class and power which structures itself around the film's narrative, but he structured the screenplay itself around the film's narrative. Not only is every element given a setup and a payoff, but the movie itself is split into the setup and payoff. Bong carefully wrote and storyboarded a screenplay with a structure that represents the narrative of the movie. Just like a good video game or a good comic will utilize its medium to the fullest extent, Bong Joon-ho fully explores every aspect of the film medium and expertly and surgically executes each and every detail with brilliant perfection. Each scene is carefully timed to create the movie's unique pacing, which not only works parallel to the story, but is unrivaled by anyone else in the film industry. He builds upon elements introduced in films decades before his and perfectly weaves them into his narrative, making Parasite a true staple in movie-making history on how to craft the perfect film.